and thank you so much for coming back to the Mirage Podcast for a great listen. I've got a new term. Check this out, Candice. This is a hyperhuman podcast. Ooh. Isn't that nice? Isn't that nice? This is a hyperhuman podcast. We are focusing on humanity, authenticity, and just being real within conversations that are based on spirituality, inner growth, personal growth, and mental health. Most importantly, our conversations are focused on inspiring everyone that will listen. So it's 2026, it is season 6, and you are tuned in with myself, Ava, and I'm joined by Candice Kogenauer, as well as Spencer Bach, and we're in February talking about love and relationships. So the two of them are our first love and relationship guests. Thank you both so much for your time and for coming on to the show this month. I appreciate you both.
Yeah, thank you so much for having us. I'm excited. We're the first. We're going to pave the way, and I'm scared.
Don't be scared. And I want to let listeners know, Spencer, I really appreciate that. Like, yes. Spencer hit us with a nice fist pull, like, yeah, that's us. And I appreciate that enthusiasm. So yeah, don't be scared. You know, I'm pulling it together one day at a time. It's been an interesting year so far. And I like that the two of you happen to be first. I will try my best to kind of go in a numerical or chronological order. And maybe our next relationship is with Nicole and Cruz, who just got married within the last 6 months. And then maybe I'll get into talking to Brian and Joni, who I believe have been together for like 30 years or something like that, you know, so I might try to space it out that way since this is how things fell. Before we get started, I'll be honest with you, I would like to do a fun icebreaker warm up before we even get into the deep, crazy conversation. Is that okay?
Yeah, let's do it.
Let's do it. Don't worry. I'll make sure we introduce you to everybody, but we're going to need those notebooks I asked you to bring out. Right. And we are going to play a few renditions of kind of like a newlywed game, kind of like a how well do you know each other sort of thing. And just to give our listeners the background details. So I know the two of you have, correct me if I'm wrong, been together for about 5 years, correct?
Correct.
I'm excited to talk about the trajectory, the journey, the path that the two of you have been on, both individually and collectively. But let's have some fun first. Let's do a little bit of rapid fire, either or. These answers will be short. You should be able to write them down pretty quickly. And then I'll do a countdown and have you flip your books, and we'll tell everybody who's listening what you both wrote. Ready?
Mm-hmm.
Plan the date or be surprised?
Plan.
I said plan.
This is so cute. You know, it's a dream of mine to be like a game show host one day. Okay, anyway, here we go. All right, things are getting kind of deep. Here we go, next one. Talk it out immediately or take space first?
I know what your answer is.
This is so cute.
All right.
3, 2, 1.
Talk it out.
Talk.
Nice. Immediately, not taking space for it. I love that.
I don't want space. I know that you
Sometimes
want
I
it.
need it.
Yeah. But we're both pretty good at like, okay, let's talk about it.
At this stage, yeah.
Yeah.
Nice. How does compromise look for the two of you, or how has it looked knowing that you two kind of have different answers for that naturally?
At first, I was always super defensive, but now we're kind of, I think we try and view it as like we're working us against a problem or us against whatever, instead of like her versus me versus her, or you know, whatever that is.
Yeah, I like that. I think that is that's how I think of it. Of I want to talk about it right now so it doesn't turn into a you versus me.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I love talking, so I'm like, let's talk about it right this second. The biggest compromise is me like giving him the space to just like regulate the way he needs to. And I think he's right. He was defensive, but I was also defensive in my own way of like, why aren't we talking about this right now? Don't you care? And it's not about me. It's about his ability to get ready to have a conversation. So I had to kind of pump the brakes a little bit and allow him space to kind of meet me where I was at. And now we actually co-regulate pretty well. and we kind of let each other have our temper tantrums, and then we'll talk about it when we need to.
That's amazing. And I'm looking forward to getting further in the conversation to chat about, Spencer, what it's like dating and being in love with a therapist.
Yeah.
And, what things that Candice has brought to the relationship. But then also, Candice, how you turn that career mind off. Yeah, we'll get into that. And I'm looking forward to that. All right, here we go. Which does the other person prefer? Big gestures or small daily acts? 3, 2, 1, hit it.
Small asks.
Yeah, I said daily acts.
Yeah.
Nice. Has it always been that way?
I think in the beginning of the relationship, it was kind of, like every new relationship, you want to do something big for your partner. And then over time, it's kind of trickled down into just daily things that you can really appreciate.
Yeah, but I think too, all of my friends are like, are you sure your love language isn't gift giving? Because we're constantly doing stuff for each other. But like my love language is acts of service. But like you shoveled out our backyard so we could have a fire in the snow, which is a daily act, but somebody would say that was big.
I get what you're saying. Like you had to, well, I guess you didn't technically have to shovel the snow for the fire. You had to shovel for the sidewalks. You had to shovel for being able to walk safely and things like that. But taking it to that next level to be able to have a fire together outside, that is so sweet and so cute.
It is. And that was when he asked me to be his Valentine.
Goodness, the thoughtfulness, it's killing me. Okay, I just realized I'm going to give my listeners a disclaimer if they don't know me. All right, so I'm a sep. Okay. And in recording this initial February episode, I am realizing, do they really want to hear me over here like, oh my God. I will try to get it together and stop sounding like a baby over how cute you two are. Okay. I like this one. This is good. This is going to be interesting. Texting all day versus one good check-in.
Oh.
What does the other person prefer?
I said text, but all of the above.
Yeah, I said one good check-in ? I don't know. I just call him. I don't know. We've just spent 2 months together because Spencer's been off work. So we haven't really been communicating via phone. But when he is at work, like I'll call on my lunch break and we'll just be on the phone for 2 hours doing whatever we need to do with the other person on speakerphone.
Gotcha.
So
yeah, I work by myself in a truck, so she just calls me and I have the ability to talk to her, so why not?
Okay, cool. That's nice that works out and then he's available essentially when you want or need him to be. Yeah, Candice.
Nice. Yes, I have to be mindful of like, you are at work. Can I info dump on you for a second, or do you need me to wait until you get home?
Now, Spencer, is that true? Does she usually ask for the most part as far as the timing of certain types of conversations?
Some of the time. She gets real excited about something and has to tell me right now, so I gotta let her have it.
I'm trying to figure out how we're the same person, Candice, in 2 different bodies. I don't know what the science is, but yes to that. Yes. Okay, so we're going to shift games, okay? At this point, only one of you at a time is going to write, and I will let each of you take turns. We'll go back and forth per question. Spencer, please write down what you think Candice will say makes her feel most loved.
All right. I said feeling seen and considered.
I said consideration and being thought of.
We did that. Now, hold on. Okay, let me let everyone know. I did not share these games or these questions with you prior to our episode today. Is that a conversation that has happened to come up recently? Or are you two just that darn awesome? And your girl, Spencer.
Yeah, no, I mean, she does a very good job of making it pretty clear what she wants to have, our relationship thrive and to be the best that we can be. And I just have to, do my part and actually live up to that.
Candice, when will Spencer say was the moment that he knew he loved you?
I know hers.
All right, I'll do it. I don't think it's right.
Good.
I said when we shook hands.
Yep, I said on our first or second date at the bar.
Is that when you shook hands?
Yeah, on our second date. I forget what I was talking about, and I was saying something along the lines of like, if we were to be in a relationship, and then I said something like, I'm not asking you to be my boyfriend, and he was like, I could be your boyfriend, and then I asked him to shake on it, and we like made a business deal that we were like exclusive on our second date. We do shake hands on important decisions now.
That's so adorable. We'll break the tie, so to speak, and I'll have you both answer this one. For Spencer, what will Candice say is her stress indicator? So write Candice's answer first, the both of you, and then we'll flip it. And then in another row, what will Spencer say is his stress indicator?
These are really hard. They're also very good questions and things that everybody should be talking about. So, okay, so stress indicator is what I would say somebody else would see to know I'm stressed.
Okay.
All right, I said a lower mood and lack of songs being sung.
That is true. That is not what I wrote. I said when I freak out or like spaz out.
I also put yelling.
Yes, that's
just random yelling.
Not necessarily at him.
No, not at me. Just
right.
Like,
literal yelling. Yeah.
The volume goes up a notch. Understood.
Mm-hmm.
And did y'all already write?
Yell into the void to try and calm down.
That makes sense. And did you already write what we think Spencer's stress tell is?
I did.
What do you think?
Did you write yours down?
No.
Well, that's how the game works.
I forgot. I don't.
Spencer, what will Candice say your stress tell is?
I know when I'm stressed, I get more easily annoyed. That's for sure.
Do your company.
What did you put?
I say shut down.
Shut down? Yeah, that too.
So now on a fresh sheet of paper, we're going to get sentimental. This is the last thing. This is simply a gratitude swap.
Ooh, okay.
Without looking at the other person's paper. Name one thing that your partner does that may seem invisible, but it really matters.
Something invisible that I really appreciate. All of the support and the effort you put into us as a couple, and all of the support and your belief in me as a person.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Thank you.
I wrote all the hard work that you put into acting on what you say. Because I know that's not always easy, but it's one of your goals. And I do see that you work hard on it.
Thank you.
And it comes to fruition a lot.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Introducing Candice and Spencer, the cutest couple ever. I hope you enjoyed that game. That was really precious just to witness and to facilitate. I love love, y'all. My goodness. My feelings on love, they are what they are for their reasons. I'll talk about that another day. Can the two of you share with me how love has shown up in your life or shaped your opinion of it? Tell me a little bit maybe about your parents or some relationships that you saw early on and how that has impacted what love is to you or means to you. Mm-hmm. Whoever would like to go first.
Yeah,
sure. I don't know if I saw love in the way that it can be. And what I mean by that is a lot of the relationships that were modeled in front of me or I was a part of had a lot of incongruency in it that was disguised or called love. And honestly, I think I have a lot of fantastic friendships that have shown me unconditional love that kind of have just gotten me here. But my relationship with Spencer, I think, is the most congruent love I've experienced. And we've talked about this. Nobody's congruent 100% of the time. But I grew up with a bunch of adults that are absolutely doing their best and I love me and love each other the best that they know how. And as a therapist, I'm like, that is not what I would want to model to others either. So I think this is some way of being able to hint at I mean, my parents are divorced. They did their best. They love each other in their own way, but they taught me a lot of maladaptive patterns that were called love that I don't believe are now, knowing what I know.
Are there any patterns that you're comfortable sharing, even just as like a general concept based on what you just did? What are some things that could show up disguised as love that aren't, or that is not?
I think one of the big ones is I was taught to love others more than myself. And I really not doing that is somewhat new for me. I say I'm a recovering people pleaser, and I think it comes from that of like, you need to do this for me to show that you love me, or I did this for you and I love you, and that means something, instead of allowing actions to be actions and love be unconditional instead of conditional. And when Spencer and I did break up, part of that reason was I could not love him more than I loved myself, and I was practicing that for a really long time, and it was a lot of self-abandonment that I worked really hard to recognize. But when you're in it, it's hard to see it. So I think that's one of the deepest misconceptions I received about love, is to put myself last in the name of love. And I think true love is loving yourself. And in doing so, that allows you to actually love and consider the people around you. Otherwise, it's really incongruent by doing anything but that.
How about yourself, Spencer? What did you witness?
I witnessed very similar things, but like in a different sort of way. Like my parents, they love each other very much, but they also lack the tools to be able to express that in the way that they want to. So growing up, I saw a very unequal share of, housework and mental load and that sort of thing around the home. And that kind of led me in my relationships into a position, like not even with her, in my other past relationships, where I kind of get into this cycle of becoming really complacent and not putting in the effort that I, started the relationship, or that would, is conducive to keeping the relationship going at a solid level or even improving it. And that's part of the reason why we broke up, is because I didn't have the tools to be able to, take a step back and be able to realize that is how I grew up. That's not how love should be, or it could be so much better. And I wasn't able to see that, and I kind of just got stuck in this pattern of not being who I wanted to be in the relationship.
I love that you both mirrored that experience, because I did want to ask about that and bring up, knowing that there was somewhat of a separation at some point along your journey. So let's really chat with listeners about a certain type of grace that you give one another, and then a certain type of trust that has to be built after a period of time, of separation there. But firstly, can you each tell me individually what some things are that you did in that period away from one another that helped you to grow into those better versions of yourselves?
Yeah, I'll go first.
Mm-hmm.
It was really for lack of a better term, kicking the nuts for me to be able to, I lost something that was extremely important in my life, and I didn't realize, exactly to the full extent of how much that meant to me until it was gone. It's sad to say, but I didn't appreciate what I had. And, going through that breakup, it really led me to a position where I had to take a step back and I had to really dive deep into myself. And I started going to therapy. I started doing research into my own. Like I realized I have probably ADHD and some sort of mild depression that kind of helps me stay in that cycle that I was talking about. And I learned a lot of ways to try to help myself get out of that and to be more present and to be able to put in the effort that I've felt like I am able to do. And yeah, like I broke a lot of trust along the way. And I really had to, make a whole bunch of effort to try to prove that I am, like, I've realized all of these things that I've been doing wrong, or not wrong, but like incongruently, as she would say, to how I want to be. And I did a lot of soul searching, you could say, and a lot of kind of self-help stuff. And it really helped me turn it around. I mean, I still kind of slide back into that every now and then, but now I've learned the tools that I can climb myself back out of. And I think that's been a huge change in my life for sure.
Mm-hmm. Now, Candice, if you don't mind, there's a thought that directly correlates to what Spencer just shared, but I will not forget to come right back to asking you about your time when you were single, or when you were separated from Spencer. Spencer, can you please chat with me about a stigma around men doing that type of internal work and soul searching?
Yeah, absolutely. The stigma around that stuff, I never, like, nobody in my family ever even considered therapy. Nobody ever talked about their emotions. They all kind of skirted the edges of that stuff and kind of pushed it to the side and said, like, deal with it on your own, basically. Mm-hmm. And yeah, I mean, I was super against going to therapy for a long time. Like, I don't need that. There's a stigma around it for me that was like, I shouldn't need that. I feel like I'm mentally healthy. Like, therapy is for people who are, whack jobs or, they're losing their mind or something. And that's not it at all. And right. Once you get into it and the thing is, you have to be able to want to do it. Like, you have to want to go in and explore yourself a little bit, or everything's just going to be met with resistance and it's not going to work anyway. So in a sense, it's like you have to want it. You can't force it on somebody. You can't make somebody see it. Like, you couldn't make me see it. I avoided it for a long time, and it took that hit of losing so many things I cared about that made me realize I needed to change something. Needed to do that work and actually look into myself.
And what was it like breaking that mold? What was it like completely transforming and changing these beliefs as drastically as you did?
It was really hard at first. There was a lot of crying that happened. There was a lot of me, I started running just to try and get some exercise, trying to get some of those demons out. And, but once you get into it, it kind of starts to snowball. And you start to realize how interconnected all of these little things are that you've been doing, and how just a little bit of work can kind of break that snowball up and stop it from forming into a giant uncontrollable thing. And once you learn that, it's a lot easier to just do the little things to help your life be better and to help you show up for your relationships better. And, it just drastically improved my life.
That snowball analogy was incredible. I will be
no idea what I'm
saying. What you just said was so insightful and very impactful. I do think there are plenty of men that truly needed to hear that, especially, no, seriously, that snowball analogy was so dope. Yeah. I think it's just a very clear image that we're all so familiar with, the kid that takes that snowball and rolls it down the hill, and it builds up and it gets so big and it becomes this boulder, and then did it knock somebody over? Knowing that you can do work to chip away at that snowball and make it smaller, rather than just letting it go down the hill and build up into something that could be catastrophic spiritually, right? That is really deep. And thank you very much for sharing that information. Candice, I would like to ask again about, what was happening during the time separated from Spencer. And there is another thought that I have about the timeline for you, Candice. What did your relationship with Spencer mean and represent? Where were you kind of in your young adulthood, in your dating life, right? Tell me about how you would kind of describe where the two of you were that first time dating, what you accomplished and what took place while you were separated, and then what the relationship became once you did reconnect. Yeah.
Okay. So let's see. We broke up. When was
It's
that?
October, I think.
October of 2024. Yeah, I mean, you moved out in October of 2024, so it was closer than further away. We had already been dating for years. We were living together. We had even been talking about like possibly getting married and all of this stuff. And for me, I was already in therapy throughout this relationship. I had started again probably 6 months, 8 months prior to breaking up with Spencer. Obviously I've been in therapy before, but I started again, and I would go back and forth. Part of it was I was still working on what love meant, what it was supposed to look like. I was still accepting conditional love because I thought I was supposed to. And the irony of it is I am a couples therapist, right? I'm constantly talking about it, but this is why therapists need therapy, because it's very hard to see it when you're in it. And I went to individual therapy and I was really working on my congruency. I love my therapist. And I started really being honest about what the relationship meant for me. And I was being honest about what I wanted in all relationships. So when I eventually did break up with Spencer, and like things weren't great, like we know that it was probably for about a year before we actually broke up, where it was just a downward trajectory. It was not great. We were both shutting down. We were not communicating well. Both of us were pulling away for our own reasons. And then, like I said, I realized like I have to choose myself. I cannot choose. I loved Spencer very much. I was not breaking up with him because I didn't love him. I was breaking up with him because this was not the relationship I wanted to be in forever. And that is one thing I know. Like if you're having these fights and you're not working on them, they are going to be the fights you have over and over and over again. And I was working on boundaries with my parents at the time. So it started like outside of my relationship with Spencer, and I was trying to get more congruent and be more clear and have better boundaries, because boundaries are the way you teach others to participate with you. And then I had to look at myself in the mirror of like, I wake up every morning next to this person and I have terrible boundaries with them. I keep saying I don't want something, but then I accept it anyway. And so, I'm like, I'm done. I can't do this anymore. He moved out. I actually really loved living by myself. I learned so much more about myself because it was the first time I'd ever lived alone. And I learned a lot more about my neurospicy needs in that time, because I wasn't masking, because I wasn't afraid of what other people would think. Being Spencer, and I had lived with my dad and my grandmother and roommates like throughout my whole life. So I was constantly masking in a way I didn't even know until I was alone all the time. And I loved it. I do love living with you, but I do miss living by myself sometimes. Okay. So there were a lot of questions there. So in the beginning, when we met, it was very like soul connection for me. I recognized his soul in a way I had not recognized anybody else. Like I met Spencer and I felt calm, and I had not felt that with anybody before. It was very jarring. And so like second date, we are exclusive. I was not a relationship person. I was not in long-term relationships really. And then I meet him and we're immediately dating and all my friends are like, what is happening? But I knew there was this connection. Like I even texted some of my friends of like, I think I'm going to marry this person. And so it was really hard for me because I was like, I know that exists. That's not what I have right now. And I can't keep waiting for it to come back. So then the relationship felt more like I was just in my people pleasing tendencies. I was doing all the things I had to do. So like our life could function, right? Like we're paying the bills, we're talking about that stuff, but we're not experiencing each other. We lost our friendship. Like by the time we broke up, I was like, I don't even know if you're my friend anymore. So we had time apart. I worked on myself. So I was in therapy a lot. I was redecorating the house. And then Spence, like I was like, I do not need to even talk to Spencer anymore. Like I love him, but I do not need that in my life. And I had some pretty clear boundaries. I was happy to be proven wrong because Spencer worked on himself and was really showing up with like, hey, I can do this thing I said I was going to do. And it took a really long time. There's a lot of slow movement. But now it's better than it ever has been. But that soul connection's there and he's my best friend. So there's a lot of grief along with that because I didn't want to break up with him because I knew it could be better, but it wasn't at that time. And I had to be really honest about the context and other and myself. And that year at Thanksgiving, we had to go around what we were grateful for. And I said, I was grateful for choosing myself. And I still stand by that. Mm-hmm. And I am less afraid to choose myself because that was one of the hardest things I ever had to do.
Yeah. Can I say something?
Absolutely.
Like what she was saying with that cycle that she was in of the people pleasing and stuff, I think that also fed into what I was accustomed to with seeing my mom do most of the work. And I was like, yeah, this makes sense. Like, this is what it's supposed to be, right? Like, this is the only real relationship I've ever seen. So I could not see in my head what was wrong with it. And then it eventually led to that explosion. And after I started realizing, I was like, oh my God, like I started seeing everything. And I'm like, this is so wrong. I was like, in the beginning, I was so much better than this. And I fell into what I knew and what I was comfortable with. And I just stayed there. And I was like, this is how it's supposed to be. But it's not. Like, it could be way better. And it took that for me to actually realize it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a perfect storm. And from like a therapy lens, we often recreate relationships that we're comfortable with, not because they're comfortable, but because they're familiar. So I'm so used to being in charge of everything, doing everything myself. Like I'm an only child. I'm very hyper independent. And it was a perfect storm because for a while I enjoyed doing it all, but then eventually it built resentment. Mm-hmm. But my actions also fed into that. It wasn't just Spencer being an asshole. It was also me taking control over everything and not giving him a chance to step up either. And so like we're both at fault for the way it fell apart, as much as we are both responsible for putting it back together.
Absolutely.
There are so many different things I could say right now. My head's gonna explode. You two are just beautiful. Okay, let me figure out where to go. There is a love that is radiating from both of you. Sorry, not sorry for being such a sap, but here we are. In everything that the two of you just explained. It is your genuine and deep love for one another that has made you the best versions of your individual selves and brought you to this point today. You know, I was going to say, not saying that you wouldn't have become this if not for the other person, but I have to admit that as each of you were speaking, that concept did come up for me, that concept of, don't you only take certain things away from certain people because you met them, because of what they've brought to your life? You know, like, isn't there just that congruency or just that purpose and that secret of life that none of us know until it happens to us. So to be able to say that you two are living this journey of this is who we were, this is what happened when we met, this is what it brought out in the two of us. Therefore, we took time away and became different people. And now that soul deep love that you have for who you each truly are now and these better versions of you this is where you are now. And now we're back here and we're able to see one another more clearly and therefore love one another more deeply. That is beautiful in every sense of the word. And as someone who, I'll be a little transparent here, as someone who has been in a very similar situation, it means so much that in the midst of all of that, life, chaos, being human, life, in the midst of all of that, the part of each of you that has said, okay, what work needs to be done for us to be together again, though? Yes, life is crazy. Yes, we have changed a lot as people. Yes, life is crazy. What do we need to do to possibly be together again, though? And another thing that I heard that was just really deep and moving. Let's talk about the bravery. I thought about bravery. Did you have to be so brave, Spencer, to go back to Candice to say like, ugh, I could really get rejected right now because of anything that's happened while we were separated, but I don't care. I'm going to be brave. And with my head held high, I'm going to say, this is all the work I've done. And I was hoping that in doing all of that work, I get to love you and be with you again. Would you say that was a bravery thing, or how else would you describe it?
I guess so. Yeah. I mean, I've never actually thought about it like that. I just wanted her so bad that I mean, yeah, I did so many things. Like I said, I started running. I learned how to meditate. I learned how my brain chemistry could be affecting my motivation. I I read an 800-page book about like depression and what is it? That acronym. CBT, cognitive behavioral therapy, and how I can do some work to change that and how it can improve my life. And I guess that is a brave thing. I've never really looked at it like that before, but yeah, it was terrifying going back to Candice and being like, "Hey, I'm trying here," like,
Yeah.
and she was not about it at first.
So thank you for bringing me to that point. My next question, a reflective question for you, Candice. The type of trust that you had to have now at this point to trust that this was a different person asking to rebuild and or to build something new with you and try again. What type of trust did you have to like operate within?
Well, Spencer's right. At first, it thoroughly pissed me off. I was like, I have been asking you to do this for a really long time. I'm like, he's then telling me about therapy and cognitive distortions. And I'm like, yeah, no shit. I was like, I know. I have been pointing these out.
Yeah, it's literally our job.
So it took me a while because a lot of which I'm thankful for it now, but in the moment I was thoroughly pissed off for a really long time because, you know, it's that moment. It's like, of course you're going to do it now. And how do I know it's going to stick? Because like in any relationship, I've seen that before, but is it going to last longer than 2 weeks? And obviously it did. Eventually, you know, and he was very respectful of my boundaries. It's not like he was persistent without my permission. But I at first was like, I need you, like, I'm done. Like, I'm done with this. I don't want to talk about it. And he respected that. But like we had lived together. So there were times where we were still seeing each other because like he had to get his shit, you know? And eventually he was really showing up consistently in the way that he said he would. And that, that's one of the big things for me, like, do what you're going to say and say what you're going to do. And I eventually became open to like a friendship, and that takes trust too, of I just did all of this work to cut you out of my life. I think your saving grace was in therapy. I was working on not being so all or nothing.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, okay, this is an all or nothing choice. And that would be such a reasonable choice for so many people. There's so many times we do need to cut people off for our own safety, etc. And I was willing to have some gray area. So we slowly built up our trust. We would talk from time to time. And then we actually had our anniversary trip planned, and I couldn't get a refund. And we had been like friends again for a while. So we went it was like we were just going to go for the day and come back. But of course, a snowstorm or like a rain storm was happening. Yeah. So we did end up like staying there. But it was the most vulnerable I had ever seen Spencer in my entire life. And it felt very pivotal of like, okay, if he is willing to do this, I'm willing to listen. Because up until that point, I was pretty pissy. I was like, you're annoying me at this point. I feel insulted for you not listening to me for this whole time. But it's also not about me, right? It wasn't that Spencer didn't care what I had to say or my literal expertise. It was he wasn't ready to hear those things. He wasn't equipped. Like he was saying, you can't force somebody to heal or soul search. They have to want to do it. And it was very clear that he did want to do it. And slowly but surely, we built up trust with literal congruency. He said what he meant based on what he felt. And then I saw his actions and vice versa. I also had to be really honest with myself of the parts that I played in that relationship crumbling. It'd be very easy to say it was all of Spencer's fault. And like part of it did suck and it was his fault. But another part of it was me accepting it for as long as I did and allowing that to be the way it was. So if I keep saying no to somebody, but I keep letting it happen, of course he's not going to believe me. I also have to act on what I say. So I think we both just built a lot of congruency and trust in that. And we're still working on trusting each other. We still have to be really mindful. And I'll speak for myself on this. There are times I notice my resentment from the past before we broke up pop up because a similar thing has happened. Not because it is happening again, but because I get triggered, right? And, my brain chemistry is like danger, danger. And I have to remember, and I try and tell him like, this isn't about this moment, but I am having memories of what it was like in the past. And I need a moment because I don't want to react as if this is, years ago. And I think it's still a day-to-day thing where we're still constantly building trust. What do you think?
Yeah, I definitely, I had broken down so much trust and grace that was given to me at that point. Like she said to me so many times, like, these are the things that are bothering me. Can you please do something about it? And, I refer to before the breakup as old me and new me now. So old me always like typical dumb guy perspective of being like, this is like, why is she asking all this stuff of me? Like, I'm nagging this, nagging about that. And it's like that, I don't know if that's defensiveness or what exactly that is. If it was just how I was raised and what I was used to, and that stigma of like, oh yeah, she's just doing that to get it off her chest or whatever. I never was able to see that, like, no, this is, she's basically pleading with me like, hey, I want this to work. Like, these are the things that would make our relationship so much better. And I'm not viewing it like that. I'm viewing it as like, this is a pain in the ass. Like, why you want me to do this? And it takes a lot of work coming from that sort of background to be able to reframe and stop being defensive and actually listen. And like, there's this stigma, like, oh, she just wants me to do all these things or whatever. But it's like, no, man, like, it's not unmanly to give into that. Like, I think it's actually more of a manly thing to be able to show up for your woman exactly how you think you should be able to. And in terms of like not doing everything that she says to you, but showing up in the relationship the way that is helpful for her and you and both of you together.
Yeah, I know there were times where, oh,
I'm sorry. Spencer, you preaching over there. You are preaching over there.
there were definitely times where you're like, why are you trying to make me change? You know, like you took it personally, and it's like, you don't have to change, but if you're not going to, you need to tell me.
Right.
Doing the work. I really appreciate what you just said. It's like, were you hearing what Candice was saying as a threat, so to speak, or was it kind of picking at a wound that may had already been there? You know, were you taking it as a damaging critique versus, like you said, no, I know that these are tools, and if we put them in our tool belt, this relationship will be more successful. So there is something I want to kind of circle around too, and you both have brought it up. Candice being a therapist. Spencer, did you feel attacked, so to speak? I'm okay. So I got my degree in elementary education and child psychology. And then I taught for about 15 years straight. I had an early start in teaching little ones through like a music, dance, and creativity program when I was only 16. And I just went all the way through till I was about 30. And there are things that would come up. And I know that my ex, one of them, I had opportunities to say, and I would say it calmly. It wouldn't be in an argumentative way. There are certain things where I'd be like, wait, I learned about this. Wait, can we talk about your inner child for a second? Can we chat a little bit about what I know did happen when you were only 12 years old? And can I please implement what I learned about 12-year-old brains? And can we then talk about it? And this person, I do think, was defensive and was not trying to hear those kinds of things. What is it like within your relationship, having Candice show up as a therapist? And I think either of you could answer that question, or both of you, you know?
I mean, from my perspective, now it is unbelievably helpful. And it is part of what has, encouraged me to keep doing the work. Before, I wasn't ready to hear these things. Being able to, like, I think that's what it is. It comes off as a threat or like as a criticism. And I didn't want to see that I was doing something wrong, or I was doing something that was hurting her and making her feel like this relationship isn't worth it anymore. And she's a freaking marriage and family therapist. Like, and I like, it feels so dumb now not to be able to listen to that and be like, oh yeah, she might know a little bit of what we're talking about here. Maybe I should quit being so stubborn. And now I really, like, I'll ask her, we'll be sitting around talking or whatever, and I'll ask her questions about, like, do you think this could be something like that? And I basically get like a mini therapy session here and there. And it's great because she's really freaking good at her job. And it's awesome. And it really helps me stay on track and even better myself. Like, she's a huge reason why I am, in at least in my mind, getting better. A little bit every day. I'm getting better.
So sweet. What say you, Candice, about showing up in your partnership as a therapist?
Yeah, it's like it doesn't shut off. So I think I probably show up as therapist me all the time without the intent of like therapizing.
Yeah. I mean, sometimes you get into that mode where we will legitimately have like a mini therapy session.
Yeah.
But yeah, you drop little snippets, little crumbs here and there all the time.
I can't turn it off.
Yeah.
Yeah, And it's hard too, because like I have to navigate it as well as I might have this information, but is he ready and consenting to hear it? Because that's another part of it. I can't just be going around spewing this information for people that aren't willing to hear it. And I wonder if maybe that was something I wasn't as mindful of in the past, because I was just throwing anything I could to try and save our relationship. So I wonder, you know, in hindsight, I wonder how that also perpetuated some of those issues. But, you know, there are times where we will literally just talk for hours and like really break down these things. And I'm using a therapeutic lens, but Spencer's also been in therapy. He's read a lot of books. Like, it's not like he's upholding his side of the conversation and doing the work. He's also asking very excellent questions. And like, I'm able to share what I think about them from my education, but also from his partner that knows him. So it's fun. I enjoy it. And I think before, there were times where I was like, you can't afford my therapy session. Why am I giving you this free therapy? But now it's like, we are working together, and I'm just like, he will cook for me because I'm not good at it and I need to eat. Like, I can share my expertise with him so we can be better too. So
I love that.
Yeah, I think it's just like we all bring something to a relationship. My, you know, therapy part of me, which, you know, is every part of me, is a part of what makes our relationship better.
Mm-hmm. You and I are always reading one another's minds. Candice, it just happened again. You mentioned those conversations being fun, and I was going to ask, this is literally just like a fun divergent away from the conversation, just because y'all are awesome and I'm really enjoying this. What comes to mind? Like, what's the first thing that comes to mind for the two of you as one of those fun, pivotal conversations? Is there a topic? Is there kind of like an umbrella situation where you're like, oh man, remember that time we got over that? Oh man, remember that time we talked about ADHD and how it shows up, and like, whoa, that was a big one. You know, what comes to mind for each of you, just off the top of your head, the quickest thing that comes up?
The first one, okay. The first one that comes to me was our long conversations we had when we were in Mexico.
That's exactly what I was thinking.
Is Mexico the anniversary trip that you mentioned?
No.
Okay.
No, it was recent.
Yeah, that was my 30th birthday. We went to Mexico. The anniversary trip was like an hour away. So it wasn't, but yeah, Mexico, we had a lot of conversations. And that was actually, so we've been pretty much together nonstop for 2 months. That was the start of us, like, of Spencer not working for the winter. So we went away, and it was like, he's finally off. We're together 24/7. And it's a transition because we weren't, right? He's working, I don't see him or whatever. Now we're alone and have nothing to do except be around each other. So it was a lot of great opportunity for growth and hard conversations. And I think it was really pivotal and a great whole week, really, to start us into this next year and realign us and recalibrate in a way that we needed.
Yeah. For the guys out there, don't be afraid to have the hard conversations. They suck. Get over the defensiveness, and it will make everything better. View it from a different perspective. Don't be defensive is the biggest thing.
Especially when you really love her, right? Like, isn't it interesting that for some men, a macho energy or an ego, like, there are certain things that I think are happening for men that are causing them to believe that to have that pride or to operate from that ego is more important than if we just have a little bit of humility and have the hard conversation with the woman that loves us so much and the person that we love so much. Is there one concise thing that was discussed in Mexico that, like, you came back from Mexico and that feels like something renewed?
It was a lot of overview of what we always talk about. But I think if I were to boil it down, it's the conversation we're always trying to navigate, which is sharing the mental load, considering each other, loving each other the way that
we know we can.
Right. And the way that the other person needs to be loved, right? Like there's the golden rule, treat others the way you want to be treated, but that kind of sets you up for failure when it comes to relationships, because the way I want to be treated is not the way he wants to be treated.
Yeah.
And the way I want to be considered is not the way that he wants to be considered. And it doesn't mean you lose yourself or you dismiss your own boundaries. It's okay, this person has asked me to do this thing. Is it in my power of control? Can I do this? Probably a little bit out of your comfort zone, but like, are you willing to do that? And it's the end of the year. It was in December. So I think we were both just a little bit complacent and overwhelmed. I had just opened a business. So we weren't connecting the same way that when we are just being each other's best friend, we are the most connected. And we know that we need to hang out and not talk about the house. We know we need to have fun with each other. We know we have to be friends in order to be in an intimate relationship. And that some of that was just falling away because we both weren't really like focusing on it the way that we can.
Yeah. Life was happening and things got hard around here, and the relationship kind of took a back seat, and it was absolutely a very much needed reset.
Mm-hmm.
And I kind of think we both got reminded of how much we love each other and how much we enjoy spending time with each other. And yeah, it was awesome.
Absolutely. Yeah. Vacations and traveling, you're out of your house. So it's always a good opportunity to learn and grow about yourself, because you're going to have opportunity for your typical patterns to show up, but you get to build new ones. Like we're in Chichen Itza, we're in an ancient temple, and I'm still kind of annoyed with him because he doesn't want to take a picture. That's going to happen down the street too,
I like how we brought that back to some realism. The reality of, no, I don't want to take this selfie right now.
Yeah. And that is a personal thing for me. My dad is a professional photographer. So growing up, constantly having my picture taken all the time. And that's something I'm still working on trying to get over, because she really likes taking pictures, really likes to have, a picture of the memories. And sometimes I'm like, oh, like that resistance is there. And I'm like, I really just kind of want to enjoy this moment. And I forget exactly how much it means to her to take 10 seconds out of my time and just take a picture. And that's one of the big things that kind of like those little things that I might be uncomfortable for 20 seconds, but it means the world to her. Like that's the stuff that I am still working on, getting over, I guess, because those 20 seconds of uncomfortability for me is not more important than having a lifetime memory for us, like it.
Yeah. Aww.
And I would like to offer a bit of a reframing, Spencer. If I ever do anything for the two of you, let it at least be what I'm about to say. You mentioned get over. And it's not that you have to get over. It's more so working through. I just think that specific choice of words,
Right.
Reframing that could be really helpful. It's just that you're working through everyday life and complexities. And, I just feel like that choice of words makes it seem like it's this thing that you have to defeat and get rid of in a week, before she leaves you again. No, it's not that.
Yeah.
It is just moment by moment working through these things as they come up. Yeah.
And there's also the flip side of, I need to remember that, yes, like I love pictures. I love my Polaroid. I am obsessed with it. But I also have to be mindful that like it is a trigger for Spencer. He really doesn't like taking pictures. So like I'm also trying to be mindful of, I'm not just asking to ask. I'm asking because it's very important to me. And I know it's something that he doesn't love doing. So it doesn't mean that I don't take pictures. It just means I consider him in the way he needs to be considered, versus like my friend that doesn't care that we're taking pictures, right? Like it's just a different relationship. So I don't want him to give up pieces of himself to make me happy, right? It's that I think everybody talks about like compromise, but it's collaboration, because I don't want either of us to be, upset, because compromise, you've compromised when both sides are equally not happy. But I think it's about the collaboration of like, hey, I want to take a picture of this wonder of the world. I'm going to push on that, but I don't need to push on it, on a random Wednesday, even though sometimes I do, but
Okay, what you just said about compromise and collaboration was killer. That was amazing. I have never heard that before. That completely reframes the concept of compromising with other people. I would rather collaborate, especially with my partner. Let's talk it out. And there shouldn't be anything wrong. And it sounds like, let me just say, because unfortunately we're working our way to a close and you two need to eat dinner, okay? So the way that the two of you communicate with one another, how well the two of you know one another, and the very clear understanding and devotion that each of you have toward the collective relationship. Like, oh my goodness. Yes, collaboration over compromise, to be able to take a step back. Once again, Candice, you and I are twinsies. Because, yes, having to take a step back and say, I know that you hate taking pictures. Do you mind if I just share with you how really, really special this ancient temple is, and how I would love to be able to look at this 20 years from now? And then creating the space and giving Spencer the space to take a deep breath and go, I'll collaborate with you on that conversation, sure. Like, that is so dope. It doesn't even have to be compromise. I'm going to go 60, you come 40, compromise, vice versa, Love that. Like, I might never use the word compromise ever again, girl. You are good. Y'all better go sign up for therapy with Candice.
She is good. She's damn good.
And this conversation, I really mean it when I say this has been very beautiful and very inspiring. I am speaking as single girly right now. And that throat clear was not intentional, but it was kind of funny, the timing of the throat clear. Sorry. Showing up as single girly who has been through some ish. And it's true that what I see and hear from the two of you is just extremely inspirational. And there are folks out here that hope to meet someone as brave as the two of you have been, to meet someone as self-aware as the two of you have been, to meet someone who is not afraid to do the work and to get their hands a little dirty as the two of you have done. Y'all, wow. Like, having the two of you here to be transparent and to be a part of this platform so that I can share this conversation with folks, I do not doubt that this will inspire others, whether they are single and hoping for something like this, or whether they are in a partnership and needing some tools and some inspiration for going through some rough patches. You two absolutely have shared some really wonderful gems, and I thank you, and I know everyone who listens does too.
Thank you for having us and like doing this. I mean, the podcast is really important, and I think I'm going to love every topic of every month, but I love love too. Valentine's Day is one of my favorite holidays, and it's important because love is what heals. So if we can reframe what love really means in an unconditional and congruent way, and if our story that, is really great and also really annoying from time to time can help somebody know that there's a gray area and it's not going to be rainbows and butterflies all the time. And you don't have to put up with bullshit all the time either. You got to find the in-between and know your boundaries. And a lot of times, we do rituals and like write vows to each other all the time. But one of our main themes in our relationship is, I want to be the best individual I can be in order to be in the best relationship. So we're never asking each other to lose self. And I think that's really important, because a lot of times people are like, you need to find somebody to complete you. And I'm like, no, dude, you are complete. And you can find somebody else that complements you and that you want to collaborate with. But the moment you start trying to push those pieces together to make one big picture is when you're kind of falling short on self, other, and context. We're always learning that, right? We still mess it up.
Yeah. I mean, that phrase, you got to find yourself or learn to love yourself before you can learn to love another.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's really, I mean, that kind of embodies what I went through. Like I didn't know enough about myself to be able to show up in the way that I know I can in our relationship. And then once you start doing that work and I can actually do it, I can do it now. And if I'm not, then I know the signs and I know how to get back to that place. And yeah, it's way better now.
I'm so happy that you two are here. I'm so happy that you two made sure to come back to one another the way that you did. I'm so happy that we met. Shout out to Threads. Like, I need to reach out to Threads for a brand partnership or something, because if not for Threads, I would not have met Candice Kogenauer. Here are some housekeeping things that I would like to wrap up with. I had closing questions and the both of you absolutely answered them within the last 5 minutes. So I'm not going to ask closing questions. I think the listener has exactly what they need and what they'd want from this conversation. Candice, we are going to hear from you again before the month is out, pretty please. And this conversation inspired the topic. What I want to say is the three of us could probably talk for a long while more. This was amazing. And there are plenty of other questions that I could have asked, but there's a specific conversation that I would like you to have with us, Candice. And that is going to be about neurodivergency within relationships. I'm very excited to hear from you on that for your Candice Kogenauer licensed marriage and family therapist segment before February is over, pretty please.
Absolutely. I would love to talk about that.
That's going to be a great and very informative conversation. Also a very affirming conversation, right? I also want to acknowledge that in posting just after Valentine's Day, there are plenty of folks out there that did not have a good weekend. And we really feel for those folks and send them positive and healing energy. And there are some folks out there that had a fantastic weekend, and we send you all love as well, and wish those relationships, those couples, the best. As for me, I'm working on Valentine's Day. Okay, I'm just trying to get this money. All right, I'm married to the money right now, y'all. And I hope that you all enjoyed this conversation as much as I did. Any other closing thoughts from the two of you?
Nothing I can think of.
No, I don't think so. Happy Valentine's to everybody, and I love love.
Me too. That was amazing. I think I did a pretty good job holding my sappiness together. Like, I feel like it creeped in only twice, and I thought that it was going to take over like 7 times. So, very proud of myself right now. Seriously grateful for the two of you. Thank you for joining me and for having this conversation today.
Absolutely. Thanks for having us. I feel like it was healing in a different way that I wasn't, I didn't know what to expect, but it was really nice.
Yeah, it was fun.
Mission accomplished. Check mark. Check that off the list of missions of the Mirage Podcast. Healing conversations.